So, uh, from what I guess by what you told me, your problem was to take over the game, or basically other lanes lost and you couldn't impact, therefore. Uh, that is my assumption from what you said. And you asked, should I have more impact? Or in your words, should I have been joining team fights more often? And how can I improve my CS? And thing is, both of these are kind of different in a way. Because you're often, in-game, you're often getting the question, alright, should I join this team fight? Or should I keep on staying on a side lane and farm? And deciding what to do in this kind of scenario is influenced by how the actual team fight goes or whether there will be a team fight or not. So it's important to, while you're farming, look at what's happening on the map. You don't need to see or watch your champion last hit things. You know your champion's going to last hit thing if you right click it. So you don't have to pay attention to that anymore. You just take a glimpse at a team fight, then you can go back again, a team fight again, so on. So then you get information, and by this information you decide, alright, should I join it or should I not join it? By what I saw from your PG, you should also work on getting more consistency. Yes, there are a few games where you farm really well. Those often games you're pretty far ahead. But then there are also games where you weren't ahead, your team was, you get carried by your team, but you were no factor that decided the game. So your team won, you got carried, great. That's a free win for you, right? You don't have to do anything to carry. The thing is that your teammates that are carrying you in this moment are not perfect. So they might do mistakes as well, or wherever the enemies might get a possibility for a comeback. And then it's important for you to also be a force that is important in the game. Not that when they make a comeback, your fat teammate gets changes, he dies, and then you're completely useless because you thought, alright, he's going to do anything either way, so I don't need to do something. And this is important, and that's why you have to farm, basically. Because farm is the most consistent gold you will ever get in a game. You can't always kill enemies, you can't always join team fights, but farming will always grant you experience and golds as long as you don't die while farming. Alright, that's that. You can push a bit more. It's important to always try and push the first wave, not too strong, because if you push it too strong, the wave will be in a weird position. Try to kill the last minion of the first wave when the second wave arrives, because then you can immediately start pushing the second wave. That's important because of the so-called level 2 pulse spike. Level 2 pulse spike basically means that when you hit level 2 and the enemy is still level 1, you will obviously win a fight, right? And that way you gain a lot of pressure, even early. Even as a hyper carry, you gain a lot of pressure. So that's why it's important you should auto-attack a bit more. And once the melees are done, then you can only last it, then that's fine. Why did you walk back there? I'll show you. Here, why are you walking back? This guy is basically walking to your minions, right? What's he going to do? He has a skill shot, he has his W, which he needs 3 stacks on you first, and he has his E, which really doesn't matter in trades. So he's walking forward and you're walking backwards, even though the only harass tool he has at this point is his Q, which is blocked by those minions. You have no reason to be afraid, so give him a few auto attacks and stay behind your minions. As long as you're staying behind minions, he can't auto attack you. or he can't deal any damage. Like, he realized that he can't do anything in this position, so he backed off. Because that was the wrong decision, and that is the kind of things we're looking for. Right. You don't need to be afraid of Tom. Just always go in a position where he can't Q you. In this case, it's this position. Even if he would Q and there would be no minions here, you would be out of range, and you could still auto-attack these. Adapt to how Tahm Kench moves and stay at the complete opposite side, or stay behind minions. That's the two options you have, but don't just completely give up everything just because Tahm Kench stands there. This damage is Zona's damage. If you would have done damage as well, Tahm could already be at 40%. Level 1, that is. Such small things make a lot of difference. Alright, they're going to hit level 2 first, right? So imagine you guys would fight right now. It's obvious that they would win. So therefore we want to get level 2 first. So we can force them to fight. They're not abusing it. Tahm could literally just stand here and force you to fight, and he would win it with Jinx together. But they're not using it because they don't know how, or they're not aware or that they can do that. And that happens a lot in lower elo. And that's easy to use, level 2 power spike, because a lot of people won't respect it. Okay. See? What is he going to do, right? Okay. I suppose you're not sure when exactly to go for trades. Like, you kind of pick timings for trades random or whenever you feel like it to trade. That's not something you should do, but you should look for certain openings. Openings, for example, are ability cooldowns, like Tahm Kench's Q's on cooldown, you're free to go, right? But there's something that happens more often, or an AD carry is often vulnerable in lane, really often. Well, every laner is vulnerable really often, and that is every time he auto-attacks a minion. Because every time Jinx auto-attacks a minion, she won't be able to auto-attack you back immediately, right? So you will always have the first auto-attack in this trade. And that gets even more important when it comes to cannon minions, because people will always greed for cannon minions. So instead of just letting Jinx take this for free, you could try to get into a position like this, where you throw W here and then maybe get 1 or 2 auto attacks off, and punish her for trying to last hit this. This is one scenario. The other scenario is that she drops this, she doesn't want to get this anymore, and she trades back. Then the trade is even, but you still won the trade because she didn't get the cannon minion. And you can actually do this for every single minion. But if you don't do it for cannon minions, that's a big mistake. If you want to play passive, sure, you don't have to punish for every single minion. There are also a lot of minions where you can't punish simply because of position. But this one, cannon minions should always be tried to punish. Tried to punish for. This is really important and a big window for trading. Yeah, you're basically not trading at all. Try to look for low HP minions of yours and then punish the enemy AD carry for last hitting it. It takes a bit of practice, but once you get used to it, it gets significantly easier. Jesus. I like this, but don't just stay in the open because of Tahm Kench Q. Like, you're actively zoning, that's good, but be aware that the enemies still have skill shots. Yes, like that. Okay. This wall is a waste. Because we have this, basically, and this. It's way more efficient to place a ward here if you are going to leave lane and ward. Because that is already covered. There's no need to ward this, it's way more efficient to ward this first. Okay. Same thing with the cannon. Like this is 100% punishable. And this is the exact timing we want to look for. Same goes for Tahm Kench. Every time he goes up, auto attacks a minion for no reason. You can punish him for that, especially because he's melee. Why are you not backing off? Are you struggling with map awareness? Need like 4 to 5 seconds to realize that Kaiser's there. That's not good. Especially in laning phase, there's not a lot of stuff happening. You don't need to watch your champion hitting things. If you right click a minion, your champion's going to attack it. You don't need to watch your champion do it. Look, while you're hearing the sound of your auto attack, look at the map, look around, and gather information. Look at what they are doing. What did you use? Did you use W to catch something? Did Tahm Kench just Q something? Your cannon is low, Tahm Kench is probably going to last it. Prepare to punish him for that. Look at the map, be careful that you're not getting ganked. And then again, this ward here would have even told you way earlier, and then you would have gotten it out alive still. Oh well, Sona would have gotten out alive. You got out nonetheless, so it didn't matter. You also shouldn't have healed. Because she was ignited and there was no way she's getting out. Mainly because she was ignited. If she wouldn't have been ignited, then it would have been fine to heal her. But if she's ignited, she's dead. You're not going to change that, your heal is not going to change that, you're going to need your heal in future situations. You can't just use it if the person you use it on is going to die either way. In a certain sense, you're also more important than your AD carry, so it's more important to keep your heal for yourself instead of using it for your supports. I'm not saying you shouldn't never heal your support, but if your support's dying over and over, then I would think about the healing him, her, whatever. This is cute. Alright, that's fine. Alright. Where is Jinx and Tahm going to be right now? What are they doing right now? Oh, Tahm is in lane. Jinx, oh alright. Well, never mind then. I thought they would back, honestly. But you should back, because you have enough gold for your BF. BF is the biggest power spike a hyper carry can get in laning phase, basically. So once you have your 1.3k gold, try to shove in a big wave. This is a really good wave. Try to push it in. It doesn't matter how much damage you get, it doesn't matter how much mana you waste, because you're going to back either way, right? So just push this in and get your BF. You don't need to stay, because the BF itself is already good enough. The BF itself is more worth than a BF plus a pickaxe. Well, you get more stats with the BF pickaxe, but you have to wait for another 875 gold to get the pickaxe, which isn't worth the time. But the BF is really good. Alright. Try to get into the habit of staying at the last step of the fountain, like here. This can save you a few seconds, which can save your tower, and it's just more time efficient. There's no reason to say hello to the shopkeeper if you can just stay here and shout to him hello. That's the same thing. It's a small thing, but it can matter in a few situations. It's all about efficiency. Okay. Right. Good. Be more decisive, or well, confident in this case. Here, when Jinx E's, you're thinking, should I flash over it or shouldn't I? That's a free kill. You shouldn't even hesitate. Because there's no way he can get out of that. You were way too undecisive for too long. And I fear that in other scenarios this undecisiveness can ruin you a lot of plays that you could do. Alright, Jinx should now back. Now she should. So what's the right thing to do when your enemy backs? Should it back? It's to always shove in. When your enemy is not in lane, always try to get your minions into the enemy tower. Why? Because that way they lose both the gold and experience those minions would give, and you automatically gain a lead by that. You also automatically gain a lead if you have more CS than your opponent, but in a lot of cases you're going to have similar experience. But punishing the enemy for backing like that while there's your minions here can give you an XP lead as well, which is important in the next power spike, the next level power spike, the level 6 power spike. Same thing applies, just like in the level 2 power spike. If you're level 6 and the enemy is still level 5, you're obviously going to win. Right? So we also play around that by getting the XP first. Because that way we can tell, alright, I'm still level 6. I'm level 6, they're level 5, we have ult, they don't, so we have higher chances of winning. This way they also lose CS, but if they get back to lane they end up getting more. Right. This is the lack of confidence I'm speaking of. There's Kai'Sa. Why are you afraid of her? What does she have which makes her win against you? You even just got your ult as well. There's no need to back off like that. Also, avoid this. Avoid standing in place when auto-attacking. Always try to move when auto-attacking. So instead of standing in place, ulting, you instead auto-attack, move, auto-attack, move, auto-attack, move, auto-attack. So that way you cover distance while you're doing damage. In later stages of the game, where this is getting really hard because of a lot of attack speed, it's fine for you yet uh, to stand still, because that way your DPS is higher. But in early to mid game, you should always try to move between auto attacks and not just stay in place. Let's agree on something, right? Kaiser would have died with 2 auto attacks more. Do you think? I think so. Yeah, she would have definitely died. You didn't even have 6 stacks on her. You would have auto-tagged 1 more stack, she would be dead. 1 auto-tag more would have been enough to kill her. And you would have gotten this auto-tag if you would be moving between auto-tags and not just standing still. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're still behaving way too passive. You have such a big lead, actually. Well, not a big lead, but you're stronger than Jinx is right now. Sure, you don't have ult, but her ult isn't really that great in an all-in. It's good before and after an all-in. And Tam's ult as well. Sona's ult is pretty good in a fight. Your ult as well, but you have it on cooldown, so it doesn't matter. But you can still look for trades. If both of you trade, right? And both of you do 500 damage, who would win the trade? You, because you already have an HP advantage. She then would be at 100 health, and you would be at 400 health. So you won the trade. Even though you did the same damage. Even if she would do 600 damage and you 500, she would still be at 100 health and you would be at 300 health. So even if she does more damage, you still win the trade. You have a sustained support as well, so she's going to heal up. She's going to heal you up. So you automatically win trades. Look for them that way then. There's no need to be so passive. This is what's required of you when you want to carry. Alright, this doesn't make sense. That was interesting. Jeez. That was way too greedy. Everything was way too greedy. Let's go back where it all began. Alright. We're in lane. We see Zed coming down bot lane, and I think he even pings that he's going to dive. So when we see his ping right there, that's his ping, right? When we see this ping, we immediately start changing our behavior. We immediately start pushing this wave as fast as possible. We don't stop pushing. We don't go stealth, we don't follow up. We want those minions to get into the tower so we can have an easier time tower diving. Because tower diving without minions is in 90% of cases suicide. But with minions you can get into a better position before the tower takes aggro. If you dive without minions, the second you walk in tower range you're getting shot at. If you dive with minions, you can get into an advantageous position and then start taking aggro and then juggle aggro. And if I see them trying to dive before the minions arrive, I just backping them and leave them. Like, because I can't prevent that they're going to die and dive here. But I can try to tell them it's a bad idea by staying here, clearing this first and get the minions into here. And I can also spam ping them, basically, to back off. This is the only thing you can do in this kind of scenarios, but it would work out. Well, and to realize that's the better call also. But that's the better call to push in first. Even here still, it would have been better to push this out, get the minions here, and then you could have sandwiched. And then it wouldn't have mattered if Tom or Jinx got away, because then you can pressure the tower either way. Once you do this, you just back off. There's no point. Yeah, especially using your heal again. It just doesn't serve any purpose. Killing Tom doesn't make a difference on what's going to happen in this game. The only thing good here is that Jinx died, because that allows you to gain a bigger advantage above Jinx again. And this is all what we need. Just stay patient and keep on killing Jinx. If she's behind in golden experience compared to you, you can keep on killing her. And you don't need to get this kill. Alright. Now you're going to lose a few minions for that. You could have just gotten all of those minions. This is what I meant with your CS is way too low a lot of times, because you're missing exactly those minions. Just like that. Well, it results into a slow push for you. That's great. Yeah, but you're not ahead enough to take over this game, basically. That's a really good example of why we look at fights while farming. This is what I mentioned at the beginning. We farm and look at the team fight while we are farming. So now we're going to need a bit of imagination. We're going to imagine you stayed on bot lane and you keep on farming. So you see this, right? You're farming right here, but you can look like that. Then you farm again. You're still farming, you're not walking there. And you still look at it. Alright, Shaco's fighting Kai'Sa. Great, Kai'Sa's running away. You're still farming. You make sure this gets in here. Then again, because this extends your lead 100%. Right? Because Jinx is going to 100% lose those minions, and you are going to get 100% those minions if you push it in. If you try to help, it's not 100%. Everything could be over by the time you get there. Your team could have already died by the time you get there. Your team could have already killed everything by the time you get there. We are on the safe side staying there, but if it extends into a long fight, that's a completely different matter. Then you can go ahead and walk there. But as long as there are no signs saying this fight is going to take a while, you don't walk there. If TPs start coming in, I would walk there. Yeah, but without any TPs, this is just a normal skirmish, and by the time I get there, everything is over, basically. And now I want to ask you, how much impact did you have in this skirmish? So you're here, you're getting a few auto attacks in. Skirmish is over, right? Yeah, now you back off. Skirmish is over. What did you get? You wasted your ult, and you got no assists or kills. Compared to getting this CS, getting this into the turret, and then maybe getting first turret gold as well. You see what I mean? This is comparing 100% chances to 50% chances. Like, I won't disagree that you could have gotten a double kill here or something if The enemy team would have played it differently, if your team would have played it differently, if you would have played it differently, so on. But those are chances. And I'm repeating myself that often because it's so important that you grasp this. Do what is more likely to help you instead of what is less likely to help you. Alright, getting dragon is fine. Yes. Alright, that's good that you pushed out before. That's really good. Stay stealth. Don't show yourself. Jinx is behind you. Behind a gold, right? That's what I meant. Behind a gold experience. Try to look for a kill on her and don't just say, hi Jinx, let's keep on farming. Like, in a best case scenario, Sona's even playing decent and she helps you. But we don't necessarily need Sona's help to get pressure on Jinx. You just stealth before getting a lane, walk this way, and then you try to get an angle here. And when she gets closer, then you can try attack her with your W slow, and with your auto attacks, ult not in this case, and maybe you can work with your flash as well. It all depends on how it goes, but you're not even looking for this opportunity. Remember how I said in laning phase, it's all about gaining an advantage compared to Jinx, and you have this advantage right now, so you have to press it. You have to press on that, and not just get back into lane and say, alright Jinx, let's keep on farming, because this is what Jinx wants, right? Jinx is fucked, basically. So she has to farm up again. You are ahead. You don't have to farm up. A bit ironic that I said you should farm before, right? But in this case, you gain both farm and pressure on Jinx. In this case, before, you didn't get pressure on Jinx, you didn't get pressure on anything. You got nothing. So then it's better to farm. But in this case, you can do both at the same time. You gain farm while you're in laning phase, and you gain pressure on Jinx and even kill pressure because of your advantage you have. Okay. Kaiser's bot side, we just saw her. There she is. Alright. They might dive you, I doubt it. You're missing simple CS. Remember the heal you used back here? That's the heal you have on cooldown right now. And that's a heal you needed. Instead of the heal you wasted back here in this tower dive trying to kill Tahm Kench. Imagine you would have heal right here, right? You would have healed Sona, Sona would have stayed alive, and then you could have easily, like without a doubt, turned easily on Kaiser. Alright. If you might wonder why I said they might dive you, it's because of how Kaiser pathed. Like, right? We saw her on the map and she walked right here. So there are two possibilities to how she moves. It's either she walks up here, which is pretty unlikely because why would she do that? Because there's no one to gank here and the tower is already covered by Morgana. So it's more likely she's going this way. Why? Because if they push it in, they can get a dive on you. And the other possibility is that she's counter jungling, but she can get both. She can both counter jungle and dive you. So the best thing actually would have to leave this tower. Or, well, the even better thing would have been to stay in this brush with Sona together, but because Sona isn't there, you would have just left the tower, leave the tower, whatever. This already could have gotten you killed. Kai'Sa, she actually did both. Kai'Sa could have already been this brush, walk out of the brush while you're under your turret. Tahm Kench could have gotten aggro and they would have dived you, no problem. Even with your flash, they would have still got you. So you were lucky getting away with this. But then in the next wave, you didn't get as lucky and you died. You only have a 5 CS lead. This should be way bigger. Jinx is constantly scared of you. Jinx is in no position to fight you. You shouldn't be behind. Or well, you should be further ahead in CS. Right. How much impact did you have on what happened? Let's see. So because we are going to imagine that you're bot lane again. With your flash in the best case scenario, because we are going to pretend that you didn't waste your flash back here in this tower dive. Alright? So your team's pushing in. You're not here, you're bot lane. Your team's pushing in, alright. Your team getting mid tower. Are you the deciding factor that they are going to get this? No. They would have easily gotten this without you, so you didn't change anything here. Same with this farm, they would have gotten this as well. Well, they're not even going to get it. No one's going to get it. Alright. Same thing, Zed and Zona are walking up here, Shaco is right behind them. Zed one-shots Kai'Sa. You didn't have any impact on that. This is the only thing where I kind of think, alright, if you wouldn't be here, he might have survived with like a 5% chance, but no, most likely he would have died even without you helping. But you got a kill, right? This amount of gold you got from the kill was one or two waves of minions. And you would have get pressure again on a turret. So you would have 2 tier 1s. And you would force someone to come here, most likely Jinx or Tahm Kench. Or both. If it's both, your team is in a 4v3. If it's only one, you can kill him. It's a win-win situation, no matter what happens. You gain solo XP, you gain solo gold, you gain pressure on the turret, you gain pressure on the enemies, you can kill enemies so they have to send more people to you, and you're making it easier for your team to do rotations. If I would have to simplify what I just said, always try to go there where you can get the most gold 100%, or well, with the highest possibility, basically. And oftentimes that's just sitting in the side lane farming, because that's your job as a hyper carry. As a hyper carry you have to get as much gold in the shortest time possible, and then start scaling and then start messing up everything in team fights. But before that you have to first get the gold. And that is often achieved by farming. Alright, again you should stay at the last step. That just pinged, right? No, you pinged, alright. If you see that taking your farm, just go mid lane instead. There's no point in trying to get CS that's already going to get. In this case, you shouldn't be bot lane. Sure, that could have left you the CS, like, I don't doubt that, but you could have just as well walked mid lane because there's nothing happening bot lane, and that already got what's there. Now you have to get mid lane. That can't solo wave clear this. Losing this turret is not as bad, but getting this turret threatened is bad. And they're threatening it. Like, if Zed wouldn't be that far ahead, he would struggle even more to defend this. And then you would 100% already be there. So this is a scenario where you should have left bot lane and get to mid lane, or get to where your team is, or in this case was. Alright. Why are you not stealthing? You have Q up? No, you don't. Alright. Did you Q out of base? Or did you Q back? You Q back direct. Well, Q back is often overkill in a lot of scenarios. You don't necessarily have to use it. Alright, get the CS. It's great. Get Crux, that's great. No, start kiting toward your team. See what's happening here. Everyone is slowly getting here. Why? Because this is up. We want this. This is a free objective. Why not take it? Well, no one wants it, but in theory we want it. And they want it as well, and that's a reason to fight, for example. To fight for objectives is good. Okay, clear mid lane. Okay. Yeah, alright. That's unfortunate. Alright, you got a kill in return. That's good. You don't have any mana. Right, back off. Spamping everyone. If they're not backing off themselves, just ping them. Alright, you have to back. You have to back. You should back. Don't take wet buff yet. Alright. Why do we not want to take wet buff yet? Because if, first of all, if someone spots you doing it, mainly Cho'Gath, you're dead. Second of all, you're most likely going to back after this because Zed is walking top lane and going to get the CS. So you are not getting it. So you will be back after this wet buff. And while you're on base, you're wasting wet buff duration. Because the gold you get from wet buff won't make you buy an item. Alright. Well, Zed didn't take the farm. But still, the red buff is wasted on the minions. You should have gotten the red buff if it's important. Don't Q back under turret. Only when you're out in the jungle or in lane. But don't Q back under turret if you don't have to. You're just wasting your Q with that. I'm well aware that's a unique mechanic Twitch has, but you don't have to use it on every single deck. Don't die under all circumstances, because you can't defend it. You're not ahead enough. If you would be ahead, you could kind of get into an anger here, pick off Kai'Sa, and then back off again. But you're not ahead enough, because you played laning phase to passive. Sure, you're ahead. I agree with you. But you're not by far not fat enough to solo carry this. And this is the main mistake, because you had the opportunity to get this far ahead. Right, they're most likely going to try get Baron or something. They got Baron. That's fine. Well, now it's pretty hard to play out. Best thing to do is push out waves and don't let them get anything from Baron. So also avoid fights except picks. Picks are the only thing worth getting, but avoid team fights. Okay. This looks like the last team fight before it all ends. Right, that's interesting. Unnecessary flashing. Don't fight. Two things with this whole fight. First of all, what reason do we have to fight above this? This is worth nothing. This 150 gold is not automatically going to make them win 100%. If they get this or if they don't get this, doesn't impact the game, so leave it. You don't have to fight for this. So you have no real reason being here. Well, sure, you can try to defend it, but once Shogun starts pressuring mid lane, you immediately back. Second of all, this is not the main fight happening here, so you shouldn't be using key ultimates and or summoners. You didn't use summoners in this fight, but in future situations, keep this in mind. This is not the fight deciding everything, so keep your cooldowns. Well, and your ult also was kind of wasted. You kind of still have to get used with your ult. Alright. The fight is over. Why are you walking this far up? If things go bad, Jinx is going to hit a W on you, make like 3 auto attacks, crits all of them, and you're dead. That's not going to happen, she's way too behind for that. But that's a worst case scenario. There's no point in getting this far up. You're just taking unnecessary damage. Well, and then again, Shogun is starting to pressure mid lane, so you even shouldn't be here. But at mid lane, trying to defend. This is also where map awareness comes into place. I don't think you're realizing that your mid lane's getting pressured. Leave this, again, this is worth nothing. Ping everyone back, everyone killed Shogun, then it's a 5v4. Well, in 30 seconds it's going to be a 5v4, and then you can fight and try again with a last fight or something. But fighting above this is completely pointless and doesn't serve anything. And this is actually a pretty easy pick to do. I'll also send you... I'll give you my Discord name. So if you have any questions to what I said in the replay, you can add me. And I also leave you a link to a YouTube video with a 5-second timer. And the 5-second timer is going to make a beep sound every 5 seconds. And I want you to leave that on while you're playing. And every time it makes a beep sound, you look at the map. It's that simple. And that way you kind of get into the habit of looking at the map at a rhythm instead of randomly whenever you feel like it. Because the pauses you have of looking at the map are way too big, and you need to improve on that especially. Well, and then what I said the whole time with deciding whether to join a fight or to farm on a side lane. Like I told you, try to farm on a side lane, look at what's happening on the map, look directly, not only on the minimap, but look at directly what's happening, and decide, are they going to fight in the next 40 seconds? Alright, I'm going to join them. Are they not going to fight? Is nothing going to happen? For example, that's often going to happen with something like Janna, because Janna is just going to disengage and nothing happens. Then you can stay on the side lane, pull people to you, kill those people, pull more people to you, and that's how you put your lead into use and not just leave it. Alright, but that's the replay.